The sun had barely slipped behind the pines when the silence turned wrong. It wasn't the usual hush that falls over a lakeside resort when the day dies down. It was heavier, as if the air itself held its breath. At 8:47 p.m., a single scream cut through that quiet, raw and jagged, ripping the calm apart. It came from cabin 12. Within seconds, porch lights blinked on like a row of watchful eyes, and every soul at the resort felt the shift. This wasn't going to be another quiet night in a sleepy vacation town. 2 hours earlier, the group of friends had checked in with laughter and plans for barbecues, boat rides, and starry skies. They'd driven 6 hours from the city to escape the noise, to leave behind responsibilities, phones, and the static of real life. But as anyone who's lived long enough knows, trouble doesn't always wait to be invited. It finds its way in. And on that night, trouble had already crossed the wooden porch of cabin 12 before any of them realized it. The man at the center of it all, Daniel Carson, had come on this trip with a plan. He'd been carrying something, guilt, anger, maybe both, since long before the vacation was ever booked. To everyone else, he was the dependable guy, the one who handled the grill, made sure everyone had water, and cracked jokes when things got tense. But beneath that practiced smile, something was cracking, something no one around him had the faintest clue about. Lena Brooks noticed it first, not because she was suspicious, but because she cared too much. Lena had known Daniel for 15 years. They'd grown up in the same neighborhood, attended the same church picnics, and once promised they'd never lie to each other. But lately, his eyes avoided hers too quickly. His hands trembled when he thought no one was looking, and his temper flickered in quiet, unpredictable bursts. She told herself it was stress, marriage tension, work trouble, anything but what it actually was. As the group unpacked coolers, tossed cornhole bags across the grass, and started a bonfire, Daniel excused himself for a quick walk. No one thought much of it. But the truth was, he wasn't walking. He was watching. Down by the lake, across the dark rippling water, a car had pulled up. Its headlights had been cut almost immediately, leaving only the faint shape of a shadow stepping out. Daniel's jaw tightened. That shadow shouldn't have been there. Not tonight. Not here. By the time he returned to the fire pit, the world around him looked the same, but his mind was miles ahead, calculating. Something from his past had caught up with him, and it wasn't planning to stay quiet. Inside the cabin, the night wore on with the kind of casual warmth vacations are built for. Cheap board games, shared secrets, and laughter bouncing off the walls. But at 8:32 p.m., the porch light flickered. It was brief, subtle. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but Lena did, and so did Daniel. 10 minutes later, she found him in the kitchen, standing at the window, staring out into the darkness with a look she'd never seen before. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. Whoever was out there, Daniel already knew them. "Who's here?" she whispered. Daniel didn't answer. He didn't blink. He just watched. Outside, the shadow moved closer to the cabin. Not fast, not slow. Just close enough to let the tension grow. By 8:47, the scream shattered everything. Every flashlight at the resort snapped on. The owner, a retired state trooper, sprinted toward the source. Doors swung open. People ran barefoot on the gravel. But Daniel was already gone. The front door of cabin 12 was wide open, letting in the cold. When the sheriff's deputies arrived 12 minutes later, Lena sat on the porch steps, shivering. Not from the cold, but from something worse. Her voice cracked when she said it out loud. He knew them. He knew them. What none of them could know was that this wasn't random. This was a reckoning that had been waiting years to find Daniel. 3 days later, what started as a friendly vacation would unravel into one of the most unsettling investigations the small lakeside town had ever seen. Everyone at the resort became part of a timeline they couldn't escape. Everyone had seen or heard something, and Daniel Carson, who came here to forget, had accidentally led his past straight to their doorstep. The detectives began piecing the story together, hour by hour, minute by minute. What they discovered was a chain of secrets that had begun long before the first car ever pulled into that gravel driveway. As the pressure mounted, so did the questions. Who was the shadow by the lake? What had Daniel done to them? And why was Lena the only one who truly understood how deep the cracks in his facade went? This case would not end with a body on the ground or a missing person poster on a telephone pole. It would end with something quieter, more dangerous. The kind of betrayal wrapped in silence, hidden beneath the surface of a perfect vacation. The cliffhangers didn't just belong to that night. They stretched across every story told afterward, every deposition, every whispered confession. People would replay the details for years, wondering how something so ordinary could turn into something so chilling. What began as a weekend escape would leave the town changed forever. A cabin that used to be rented out every summer now stood mostly empty. Locals didn't like to talk about Cabin 12. As for Daniel Carson, the past he thought he'd outrun had only been waiting for him to stand still. If you want more deep, chilling, real-life inspired stories like this, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. Every week, a new case. Every story, a new twist. Some vacations don't end with tan lines. They end with questions no one wants to ask. And this was one of them.